All right, USC Notre Dame. The first of a string of games that are going to be crucial for Notre Dame to make any kind of push to the college football playoff. I know that shouldn't necessarily be the focus at this point because NC State, Stanford, USC, Miami, all sorts of big games coming up that need to be won, of course, for Notre Dame with one loss to walk the tightrope. And maybe they don't get to the college football playoff, but they're certainly capable of turning in a big season here. They've been in this position in recent times before. You know, we talked about it before we hit the record button, Andrew, and you mentioned the 2014 game in Tallahassee in which they had the game all but won, and there was a controversial call at the goal line on the pick play or would-be pick play. Then you have the Clemson game with the two-point conversion failed at the goal line against a team that went on to play in the national championship game. So Notre Dame was that good that they lost to Clemson that year, a team that took Alabama to the wire, and they went out to the West Coast and they played a great game against Stanford, a team that won the Pac-12, and they barely lost that game, or otherwise the Irish 2 years ago would have been in the playoffs. So here we go, another one of these games, and it's time for Notre Dame to not just play extremely well, but find a way to win.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the feeling with the people who cover the team and fans and people on the outside looking in, you know, I think a great example was, you know, after the Georgia game, he was asked by a reporter, and everybody, you know, kind of saw the angry Brian Kelly come out about, you know, what's going to be different down the line, because this is another, you know, one possession game that you lost in a big time spot. And he really didn't answer the question. He seemed very irritated by it, which I'm sure he is, and I'm sure he apologized for that. But you know, it's something that's continued to happen over and over again, which is almost there. And I feel like, you know, it's almost getting to a tipping point here, where I think, you know, that even though Notre Dame may win 9 games this season, you know, I think the perception is going to start to change that, okay, Brian Kelly's good, but he's not good enough to get us over the hump. And I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, but I think that's definitely, if Notre Dame loses this game, that's definitely going to be on the minds of a lot of Irish fans. And, you know, it's I kind of feel like it's a must-win game. Obviously, you talked about the college football playoff. So, you know, if they want to go to that, obviously it is a must-win game. But I feel like even in the broader scheme, it's a must-win game for Brian Kelly.
And Andrew, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, too early to talk about seriously, but that's what we do. We talk about such things. So the college football playoff, I believe that with the schedule that Notre Dame plays, Michigan State, USC, NC State, Miami, Stanford, I'm probably missing a few other decent teams in there. I think this is a very difficult schedule. They always schedule tough, sometimes more so than other teams' schedules because they play within conferences. Notre Dame is subject to or victim of programs going up or down. They can't control that. They go out and schedule a difficult schedule, and sometimes it gets ridiculously tough, and sometimes it's a little bit less than it is because of the way that plays out. But I think this is as good a schedule as there is typically in the country, and I think that if they can hang on to this one loss and keep it right there, that there's no way they get left out of this thing.
Oh, I mean, I definitely would agree with you. If they can somehow find a way to make it through, I think they are probably a slam dunk to get in the college football playoff. You know, I mean, lots of things can happen, you know, both with Notre Dame trying to get to 11 wins, and a lot can happen, you know, and I'm sure will happen because it's college football, with, you know, Alabama and Penn State and, you know, Ohio State and TCU. I mean, I'm sure one of those teams in there is going to get upset, and maybe it happens this week to Penn State. But I definitely think, you know, the schedule is there. I think they really can prove that they belong there. Now, whether or not they do that, you know, I'm still in the camp that I don't believe that they will at this point. But they can run the football and they can stop the run, and they have avoided turnovers, and they've been very efficient in the red zone. So, you know, if you do those things, you're going to win a lot of games. So I think they're going to have a fighting chance to do it, but I would think they'll probably come up a little short.